Welcome to Grit to Glow, the podcast for moms, entrepreneurs, and women ready to step into their power. I'm Naomi, your host, mama, business coach, and unapologetic go-getter. Here, we're keeping it real. We will dive into the unfiltered heart of motherhood, entrepreneurship, and some of life's messiest moments. Because let's face it, growth doesn't happen without the grit. But the glow, that, my friends, is the magic that we create. You can expect tangible life and business support, juicy insights, and the raw truth about what it really takes to build the life and the business of your dreams. So, let's get glowing. All right, welcome back for another episode of Grit to Glow. Today's episode is one I already know that you're going to want to save to come back to again and again. I'm sitting down with someone who doesn't just talk about scaling, she fully embodies it. Jordan Dovre is a powerhouse business mentor. She's a truth teller who built a six-figure business in 6 months with 2 kids at home. She doesn't run ads, no cold DMs. She just has a rock-solid strategy, deep self-trust, and relentless action. She is the woman behind sold-out offers, flopped launches, and every messy middle moment. She's turned all of this into fuel to help other women bolden their voice online, to own their leadership, to scale, and to hit consistent multi-5-figure months. So she's not here to talk to you about fluff today, neither am I. We're going to dive into what it really takes to scale to high cash months online, whether you are calling out noise, debunking myths, and getting grounded with me today, Jordan. I'm so excited to chat with you. So are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it. I'm so excited.
Amazing. Awesome. So first and foremost, I would love for you to tell my listeners, like, what exactly drew you to the coaching industry and like a little bit more background on your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am from the corporate world. My background is actually in accounting. So it's like complete polar opposite of what coaching and online marketing and content creation is all about. But I got into accounting because it was safe. I knew there was always be a job for me. But like most people who like transition into entrepreneurship, I was bored and I was like, there's more. I know there's more, right?
Yeah.
And so an opportunity came up, or I should say, an opportunity did not come up at the corporate world for me. And I was like, you know what? This is my chance. Like, I'm going to go and do something for myself. I just had my daughter, who is my second child, and I went out on a whim and I quit my job and I just kind of went all in the online space. I'd always loved like content creation and I was always in some type of leadership position in my corporate world. And so when I got online, it really was just, okay, I was telling my story. I was talking about what I was doing. Like there wasn't necessarily a purpose behind it right away, but then it's like, oh, I'm really good at connecting with people. I'm really good at
Mm.
messaging. And so I started teaching on that. And then that led into widening my net a little bit more, teaching more on the mindset work, because that's when I really started to realize, like, no, there isn't just like a magic freaking formula that you can plug into your messaging. It's mostly like how you see yourself and like your own self-trust. And so that's when I really started to develop this brand that I have now of this truth teller and telling like the industry secrets that nobody wants you to actually like know about. And so it's kind of just like naturally blossomed from like that first month where it's like, okay, we're just going to try this out.
Yeah, amazing. Super
Yeah.
inspiring. I feel like for so many of us as women and moms, it is
Mhm.
like, oh, should I do this? Should I take this risk? And like the fact that you were able to lean in and just trust yourself says so much about your leadership in general. So, um, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I would love to kind of pick your brain and
Yeah.
have you start with like a truth bomb for anyone listening. So, what would you say one of the biggest lies that the online space tells women about scaling is?
Um, okay, we're gonna go ruffle feathers right away. I love
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of conversation about you have to like either be full masculine or full feminine, right? A
Yep.
lot of that terminology around. And I have never resonated with like either of those terms because I'm like, you just got to be you, right?
Mhm.
And I think that like the bigger picture of that is that there's one way to build an online business, and it's just like one way or the highway. But the reality is, and like this is where I think the online space gets a bad rap, is like people say it has to be this way. Well, you have to do it this way. You have to lean in further to your feminine. You have to be more masculine. And they're just trying to sell you something. They're just trying to sell you into your program that embodies that, right? And yes, that's what we're all here for, but it's also understanding that there's so many nuances to it. And like if you don't fully feel good and trust, like, or if you don't fully feel good in going one way or another, or just doing something a way that somebody does, it's okay. You don't have to follow that path. Like your self trust and your ability to lead yourself to build a business and build, whether it comes down to messaging, content, like all of these things, offers, it all comes down to like what lights you the fuck up. And when you just trust yourself to follow that, you're good. Like you
Yep.
don't need some magic strategy. You don't need some magic formula. So I think that's one of the big things is that so many times I see in messaging, like you just have to do one thing. You're missing this one piece. And it's like, no, you just aren't trusting yourself. Like that's really the reality.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, 100%. I think there's so much about online business, even in my own experiences of learning, like, I've done online business in multiple different industries now. And so now I'm like, man, there are so many voices out there, right, that are telling you, like, do this and only this, do this and only this. And even in my industry, it's like, I work with people on like OBM work, funnels, strategies, like, and there's tons of people in your industry in the coaching space that are like, you don't need funnels, you just need another mentor, or you just need this course that I'm selling or whatever. And so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
there are so many different viewpoints, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that one is wrong or one is right. But
Right.
I think so
Right.
often the way that people get caught up and, cap themselves on their growth is by blasting their message as the only way and not
Mm-hmm.
empowering their people coming in, which is why I love so much about the work that you do is like, you need to also remind people, I'm going to give you things, take it or leave it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And like I would rather my clients say like, no, that doesn't jive with me. And then we can like work through something else, like work through a different strategy, work through a different method. Like I've done that more times than I can count. It's like I can make suggestions based on what's worked for me in the past, what has worked for other clients in the past. But again, if it doesn't feel good to you and you trust yourself enough to speak up about it, like you need to do that. Like
Yeah.
there isn't, even if it's your coach, like I've challenged my coach so many times and like, I don't really want to do that. Like that's not me. I get that that works for you, but that's not how I want to run my business. And that's okay to do, right? And that's what like high level mentorship is, right? It's not, there's not a one size fits all. And I think we get caught up in like, okay, you have to have this framework that you have to bring people through, right?
Yeah.
And again, there's nuances to this too, because like in the work you do, it's like, yeah, there is like a step by step. But then there's other times where it's like, you don't need to structure your offers only this way. You don't need to, do this plug and play of messaging and follow this framework for captions.
Yep.
In order to be successful. Because half the time, what that does is it pulls you out of your business.
100%. Yeah. And even so much of the work that I do, like I primarily work with coaches. And so I've seen so much on the back end of like, somebody will be like, well, what do you do for your other clients for this, this, and this? And I'm like, it's not going to be the same for you because your offer suite looks entirely different. So you
Mm-hmm.
can hire me and bring me on to
Yep.
do X, Y, and Z tasks. But at the end of the day, the deliverables might actually look a lot different, right? And so I think
Mm-hmm.
knowing and adapting whatever field you're in to your clients and like what makes the most sense for them in their unique business is just smart. Like you have to be
Yep.
flexible and willing and able to adapt and grow to the different types of people that you're
Yeah.
working with versus just being like, oh, this is just one size fits all, because it's never going to be that, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. And that's how, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
100%.
Yeah. So talk to me about, you built your business without ads or any like cold DMing or anything like that. So like
Mm.
for you, when you were growing your business and even now, what strategies would you say that you double down on instead of doing those things? And why do you think that that works so well for you?
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, before I get into that piece, a fun little story. I did run ads at one point in time because I thought that I wanted to increase my visibility. I wanted to hit on a different audience. And I got nothing out of them. Nothing. I literally lit a bunch of money on fire, right? I mean, I am a firm believer and I go through everything for a reason. And I went through that experience for a reason. And it was no fault to the individual who like helped me run the ads, any of that, but my messaging wasn't on point because I had given my power away to ads, to strategy, to other people at that point. And so my messaging wasn't landing.
Yeah.
And like if it's not landing organically, it's not going to land in ads, right? Because if it's not landing with like a semi-ward audience, it's not going to land with a quite cold audience.
Yeah.
Like it's just that's the fact of the matter. Um, so I say these things because like I have tried this before. Like I've tried, the cold DMing, I've tried the ads. So it's not just like this is just my opinions on things. Like I've gone through all of these things. And when my business has grown the most has always been when I'm most grounded in who the fuck I am and
Yeah.
what I bring to the table and being loud about that. And not loud in the sense of like, obviously, volume or like using a lot of profanity or making bold statements or putting people down, but loud in the fact of, I'm just going to own this 100%. And like, this is what I know to be true. And when you get to a point in your business where you're not wobbly in that, like your own truth, the sky's the fucking limit, right?
Yep.
Because that is going to get you so much further. So the big growth that I've always seen in my business, I've had reels go viral, I've had like super high cash months, I've had months where I've dipped, but the one common theme every time I've had like that big growth uptick is when I was most grounded in who I was.
So
And
good.
people don't like that answer because they're like, well, there's got to be more. I was like, no,
Yeah,
it's
they're like,
not.
what's the strategy though?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, how do I do that? And like, there are exercises and things that I go through with my clients to like, let's get to that point. And it takes work. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's not just a overnight fix kind of thing. Like, it has taken work and time, and I have hit highs and then I've gone right back down to hit lows. Um, but every single time I've seen massive growth in my business was when
Yeah.
I was most grounded in just what I knew to be true.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to know too, is like you can learn all of the strategies and all of the things that are out
Mhm.
there. And it's about really taking it and one, making it your own, but then two, doing it alongside of your truth. Like you can't continue to scale if we're talking about really growing a business. It's like, yeah, you can grow a 5 to 10K a month business online
Yep.
and not be living in your truth and be just showing up and doing the strategy and doing the things and all of that. But if you truly want a 20, 30, 50K a month business, people
Hmm.
don't want to buy into people who they feel the inauthenticity or however you would
Yes.
say that. It's like they
Yeah.
want people who are connected to themselves and who can
Hmm.
lead themselves and be true to who they are. And
Yep.
they feel that. And so when you as a leader are putting yourself out there, it's like, how can you continue to show up every day, not just in your truth, but also to grow and expand as a human being and live out the things that are important to you? Because as long as you're doing those things and as long as you're continuing to move the needle forward in yourself and who you are, like the business and the growth and the scaling will be a byproduct of that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It's all a game of self-trust.
Yeah.
Like if your offers aren't selling, you probably aren't trusting yourself to hold, only two people or 20 people in your offer. Like you are limiting yourself of like, well, if only two people join, like, what is that going to look like? Right. And so you're not trusting yourself to still deliver and like hold that conviction if quote unquote only two people join. If
Yeah.
your messaging isn't landing, you're not trusting yourself that like what you say and how you say it is enough. Right. And so it really all comes back to that. And then, like you said, everything else is just a byproduct of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Like when you really get down to it at the end of the day, it's like messaging, offers, all of that is like, yeah, those are symptoms of not trusting yourself.
Yep, 100%. So I'm sure you in the coaching industry see a lot, clients of yours who are, experiencing spiraling or maybe
Mhm.
self-sabotage or things like that. And I know I've heard you talk about the messy middle. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, what does it actually look like for you to lead your clients through those types of situations?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. So I have a client right now who um she came to me and she was really kind of plateaued, but she was ready to like take that next level, take that leap. And it was a lot of self-reflection of like, would you be doing anything differently in how you coach people? The results that you are delivering, like, would those be different if you were making two times, three times, 10 times the amount that you are right now? Nine times out of 10, it's no. And so it's like, so then what is actually stopping you from going there? Right. And it's usually that we're putting it on a pedestal. We're saying, like, that dollar amount isn't like, I'm not worthy of that. I could never make that much. Like, I need to know more in order to get to that next level. But if you ask yourself that question and like you really dig deep there of like, okay, well, would anything actually change? Like, would you show up differently? The answer is no, you're in your own way. If the answer is yes, then obviously we need to dig into those things. Like, what would you be saying differently? Like, would you be more, outspoken about certain things? Would you talk about certain things more? Um, would you hold your boundaries more with clients? And this is what came up with this client of mine. And she still had, um, clients who had been with her for over 2 years, but they were still paying rates from 2 years ago. And it's like, okay, I understand loyalty. I understand that, but you also have to take emotion out of it at certain points and bring logic in. Because at that point, those individuals were getting VIP when her group program was actually paying more. And so it's like, let's have this conversation of it's not just that those people were capping her from a monetary capacity, but also like a mental capacity, right? Because
Yeah.
whether she realized it or not, subconsciously, she had, pent up resentment towards them because they were getting it all for half what they should be, like she wasn't charging her worth. And these are some of the things, again, when I ask that question that we uncover. And it's like, where are you not holding that standard for yourself? Where are you not holding that standard for like what you are actually worth? And that, I mean, snowballed into a huge conversation. And she has since like skyrocketed, signed more clients this month than ever. And simply because she had those hard conversations. But by having those, it literally gives you an endorphin boost. It gives you that feeling of like, holy fuck, I can do this. Like, look at what I just did. Look at what I just accomplished. Like, I did the hard thing. There's no stopping me now, right?
Yep.
And when you prove to yourself, because sometimes we have to do that, that you can do the hard thing and that you just need to hold that standard a little bit higher for yourself, it's game over, right? And so when I have these conversations with clients, that question is the first one that I ask when they're in this like spiral, when they've plateaued. It's like that is the first question I ask. And that usually bridges into what they would be doing differently. Okay, well, let's go and do that then and find
Yeah.
out why you're not doing that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And oftentimes it's so interesting too, because I think a lot of people are very aware of the things that they need to be doing. And it's more of
Yes.
they might even have the awareness, or it's like the subconscious awareness, right? Where it's like once you
Hmm.
sit down and talk to them about it, they're like, oh yeah, I knew it was that, or oh yeah, like I see what it is, it's this, and they're able to call that out for themselves, even though they have been doing something different, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like it's interesting because I think we all innately have that intuition in us, but then we look at what's going on, and social media is such an interesting place, right? Where we cause ourselves to second guess ourselves over everything because
Yes.
we see
Yeah.
what everyone else is doing and we think,
Mhm.
oh, should I be doing it her way?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes it's just really being able to like pull that out for somebody. And that's why I think coaching is so important. It's like having somebody who can be a mirror for you, who's even just a few steps ahead of you is
Hmm.
so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what I bring to coaching is I am a mirror. Like my clients have everything that they need, but they are sometimes you're too close to your own magic. It's like trying to read a bottle label while you're inside the bottle, right?
Yep.
You're too close to it. You can't fucking see it. And so when somebody comes back out, like from the outside and like literally reflects back to you, like, do you not see this? It's that is what builds your self-trust.
Yeah.
Having those types of conversations and having those somebody reflect back to you, like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, you are more than capable of doing XYZ. And this comes down to like the industry of like, I have had my own experiences. I've had clients who've had experiences where what they see on the outside is not what they see on the inside, right? It's the
Yep.
smoke and mirrors show. And so, I talked a lot about ethics and being, ethical and having like your standards high in your business. And it really plays into that. And so when my clients come to me, they usually come to me from other containers where it's like, yeah, I didn't learn anything there. Or I had like a realization that like I already knew everything that I needed to know,
Mhm.
right? And it's so fascinating to see um to take when you take everything off the pedestal, you put everybody on the same playing field. It's like we can all do this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, just having worked with so many different types of clients, what would you say is something that separates like the women who are currently staying stuck at, $3,000 to $5,000 months versus the ones who
Mhm.
are actually breaking through and hitting the 10, the 20, the whatever, what do you think that is?
So I sound like broken record. It comes down to their self-trust. It truly, truly does. It comes down to like my clients who are stuck at that like 5K mark. If they come to me, there's a lot of conversation happening, right? There's a lot of, can you review this post? Can you look at this? Can we talk through this? But then once they build up that awareness that they can do this, there's far less of, okay, I need to, make sure like I get approval on this. I need to make sure everything's like teed up before I can go and launch this product or go and not necessarily launch a product because we usually talk through that, but go and like post something. There's a lot less review work. And that just goes to show that when you get to those higher cash months, it's a byproduct of just saying, like, no, I know what to say, and not overthinking every single freaking post and move that you make, and realizing that one thing is not going to make or break your business.
Yep.
If you have a post that didn't really perform well, do you think that is going to literally like completely demolish everything you've worked for the last 3, 5 years? No. Like, let's not be silly about this. It is okay. And so taking that pressure off also allows you to, move more quickly on ideas, move more quickly, whether it's content, whether it's offers, all of those things. And when you move that quickly, the energies behind it, right? You get more excited about it. Your audience can feel it. They then buy in more. You then make more sales. You then start to trust yourself more because you're like, oh, I moved without like getting like a check mark from my coach saying, yep, go for it, do it. And look at what happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big difference. And it's my clients who are hitting these higher cash months who have moved past that plateau, there's not a timeline on it. I think that's a really big thing too. It's not a when they will do it, it's just, or not if they will do it, it's when they do it. And they don't care how long it takes because they know that this is like where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so huge. It's that leaning into your calling and leaning into,
Mhm.
your own self-leadership and belief in, where you're meant to be, in order to really build what it is that you are looking to build and then some, right? Like I think when we lean into, okay, I don't know how this is going to work, but I know what I want to do. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I can just take the steps every day to continue to build towards that what,
Yeah.
and eventually the
Yes.
how falls into place, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So amazing. So for you personally, do you feel like there's been a point in time where you had like a shift in your leadership, or even at this stage of your business, like that you've made recently to be able to continue to serve and hold more? Because I know, as women, it's like that's oftentimes what I hear, at least the determining thing is like, especially when you're a mom, it's like, how am I going to hold all of this? How am I going
Yeah.
to, hold a thriving business and more clients and, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, decision fatigue in moms is a very real thing, right? Like we have so many decisions to make. And then when it
Yeah.
comes down to our business, right? That's just another one. Um, so this last year has been I joke that I've like, my identity has quote unquote quantum leaped like 75 times in the last year. And my brain has a hard time like keeping up with it a little bit. Um, but there were a few instances where that occurred to me. So last year at this time, I was still hitting multi five figure months, um, but it was actually right around this time, more like early June. And I started to like peek around and see what everybody else was doing, right? And my business plummeted. And when I say plummeted, like I hit a $0 month after having like 20K months. And it was this factor of like, well, I want to get to that next level. I want to go to that next level, but I don't have what it takes. Like, I need to go and learn, what her strategy is. I need to go and run ads. I need to go like all of these things. Um, and so that was a time period where had to do a lot of self-reflection. I had to keep pushing through where most people probably would have given up because they're like, well, that was a fun run, but now we're going to be done. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I know this is where I'm supposed to go. So I kept plugging in. I did the work that I do with my clients now, that self-reflection of like, what do I know to be true? Like, can we just go back to the basics here? And like, what do I know to be true? I know X, Y, and Z. I know that messaging and how you say things and showing up in your most authentic way makes a massive impact on your business. Okay, let's reground ourselves in that and not get fancy, right? And things started to pick up again. I went to an in-person event with, hundreds of other entrepreneurs in the online space specifically. And that also was a very big moment for me where I took so many people off a pedestal, so many people. And it was like, ooh, okay, I get this. You're just like me. The only reason you're on stage and I am not is because you are more convicted in what you're saying. But like, watch out because I know how to be convicted. I just thought I was missing something to be able to be at your level,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. And so that was a big shift for me again. And ever since then, it's just getting more grounded in my truth. And really the like why behind being the truth teller, right? That has been like my latest evolution in brand. You know all about the evolution of brands, like things change constantly. And yes, there's always like a common thread, but there is like an evolution of like the bigness of it. And just as of recent, that's kind of been the evolution that's happened of like what is the deeper why behind why I'm always the one who's like saying the things that people don't want to hear or saying the thing that like nobody else will talk about in the industry. And it comes down to like past or not past life, but experiences in my past that I was sugar-coated about things. Like postpartum was a huge one for me. And as a mom, I'm sure you can relate to that.
Oh yeah.
That was a huge one for me where everybody sugar-coated that postpartum experience. And mine, a lot of people have a wonderful postpartum experience. Mine was fucking awful. And I took that to mean something about myself because everything got sugar-coated.
Yeah.
And it's like, from that point on and forward, like, I don't want women to ever feel like they aren't capable of achieving what they want to achieve. And when you are sugar-coated, when things are sugar-coated to you, and you're not told the full truth, you're told like the smoke and mirrors of things, and you run into hiccups, you run into lows, you run into wobbles, you no longer think you're capable of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you take it to mean something about you. Excuse me. And so that really was something that like I have cemented down in the last like month. And it's been flourishing ever since. So that's kind of, the evolution of things that have happened and like those moments where it really started to hold more. Sorry, I have a tickle. Oh my gosh. And it was honestly letting go of what I thought I had to be for the industry to grow opened up so much capacity for me, like holding capacity, because it's like, oh no, I just create content based on what I know, based on conversations I have. I will put out offers that I know will, expand me, expand my truth. And then I just show up for my clients. And like when you bring it down to those basics and you trust that that's enough, that's when like your holding capacity gets bigger, right? Because you're not second guessing or looking to other people for answers. And that takes up more capacity, I think, than a lot of people realize.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And it's so cool that, your journey and your story of just the different things that you've been through are such an inspiration for why you lead the way that you do. I mean, I think it's so great that you've even taken the pieces and parts of your life. And that's really what this is, right? It's like
Right.
we so often box ourselves into thinking like, oh, I have to
Mhm.
be like a certain way, right? Like even in my industry, I'm like, oh, people want to see X, Y, and Z things, or,
Mhm.
everyone else is doing X, Y, and Z. And so that means that's what this is. And it doesn't have to be that. I think the greatest leaders are the ones that do think outside of the box and think of the new and innovative and creative ways to help expand people beyond what's already been done. And so,
Mhm.
I think even just taking from motherhood, like, yeah, there's so many parts. I'm sure we could sit here for an hour and talk about like the postpartum experience and things that like my
Right.
mom was a stay-at-home mom and all of these things. And I thought there's so much of it that I'm like, oh, I just thought that being a mom was great because that's all I really heard from her.
Mhm. Yep.
And then in my postpartum experience, having those conversations was like, oh wait, you did struggle too. Why wasn't this
Yeah.
shared with me? Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
like,
it's
wait,
like
I'm not the
the
only one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so even with, this industry and coaching, it's like you don't know what you don't know. And so
Mhm.
when you get into it and you start to peel back things and realize there's so much more than meets the eye, and not all spaces are created equal, not all coaches are created equal, like the difference in how they coach might not be what you need. And so it's like being able to be a voice for that and speak the truth of your experiences, what you've lived through, and how you're doing things different because of it is so incredible. So I just have to say, like, it's been so fun to be a part of, watching your journey and getting to know
Thank
you.
you.
And yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's been a wild ride, but it's a fun one. And yeah, it's so rewarding. It really is. Like it sounds so cliche, but it is. Like yesterday, my client had me crying on the other hand, on the other side of like a voice note. She's like, I just feel like I can do anything. She's like, I am a badass. Like I did this and this, and it's just that's what it's all about.
It is 100%. So I know we're about to wrap up. So to like leave on a high note, if you will,
Yes.
if you could like say one thing or shout one thing from the rooftops, I guess, to every woman who is building her dream business right now, what would it be? Like what message would you leave them with?
That you already know everything you need to know. You know, there are going to be tangibles, there's going to be how-tos like systems. Yeah, I'm not great at systems, right? But you can hire somebody. But at the core of like your business and like the message that you want to bring, the transformation you want to provide, you already know everything you need to know for this moment. Are you going to expand? Are you going to learn more things? Yeah, but it doesn't impact like how you can give your people results or accomplish whatever you're going for right now.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan,
Yes,
for being
thank
on
you.
today. This was so fantastic.
It's
Um,
great.
Before we leave, can you just let our listeners know where they can find you on socials and, some of the ways they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram primarily. So it's Jordan Dovre on Instagram. Um, Come slide into the DMs. We'll scheme up a plan of how we're gonna make you rich as fuck, but also in the most like empowered way possible, right? Because that's how it happens. Um, yeah, come and chat, come and hang out. I
Yeah.
love having conversations with people. Like, I don't care where it leads. I just am genuinely in awe of the online space and everything that people can accomplish. And like the knowledge people have is insane. And so, like, it's one of my pastimes is literally just having conversations with people of like, okay, what do you do? How do you do this? Like, this is fascinating.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, this was such a great conversation today. I know so many people are going to get so much value out of it, and it was just so great being able to chat with you. So, you guys, until next time, we will see you on the next episode of the Seven Figure Series.
Thank you for joining me for another incredible episode of Grit to Glow. If today's episode spoke to your heart or sparked an idea, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Be sure to screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at DesertLuxCreative. I always love connecting with you guys, so don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss a moment. And if you feel called to it, please leave a review so more women like you can find our show. Remember, the glow up is yours for the taking, so keep going, and I will see you in the next episode.